him gain another yard.
You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out. Jokic, long pass. Harris has it. And he puts it away. Oh, what a pass. Peyton Manning again smiling.
Going deep. Oh, he's got Thomas. Goodbye. Touchdown. 63 yards, Peyton Manning.
Favre with Levens behind him. 4th and 6 for the 31. Blitz is on. Favre hit as he throws. Pass is going to be incomplete. Denver holds. Denver's going to win it. Oh, baby, they're going to win this thing. Are you kidding me?
Live from Lakewood, Colorado. Broadcasting from the Colorado Media School studios, it's Sports with Staxx and Shaggy.
Yo, what's happening, everybody?
You can stand up and salute in Denver. And you got the world champions that live in your town.
Yo, what's good, everybody? We're live on the Colorado Media campus here on this Tuesday, giving you the 8 o'clock hours. This is Sports with Staxx and Shaggy. We got a heavy show for you, talking about some Broncos, some training camp, and some NBA talk, of course. Nuggets and Avalanche off day. We got some Rockies queued up here in the booth. I'm sitting with Dan Tanner across from me. Got Shaggy behind the glass, the ones and twos. How you doing today, Shaggy?
I'm doing pretty good. I already ran that Inside the Huddle show today. Gonna talk some other sports. I'm enjoying today.
Yeah, who was your co-host on today?
We had Squirrel on, and then we as well as had Wes.
Yeah. Some interesting characters.
But
But
we had a lot of safety talk today.
Oh, to get into it, CSU, and this is actually some breaking news, and we'll probably get some more details of this story within, the coming hours and probably have more in the morning. But a CSU cover-up, CSU players and the athletic department told by coaches not to report COVID-like symptoms. And it's just a kind of, if it's true, kind of really disgraceful, not kind of really disgraceful. Talking about, all what COVID can bring, all the risk that you're putting to these players. And a lot of these, they're putting health at risk in return for, the gain the school would receive if fall sports were played. And that's the reason why they want these players to play with COVID if they're experiencing symptoms. Now, a lot of players saying that there was a party where, players from different sports on the campus attended it during the 4th of July where a lot of COVID positive tests had spiked. So they were experiencing a lot of that. And so you would imagine, if you're the coaching staff, you're disappointed in that and you don't really want to swallow the pill that, half of your players or, it was 11 players that tested positive that were football players as a Sunday. And so when you're getting guys who are testing positive this close to the, college football season, which is likely not going to happen, it kind of, gets you even more in a panic.
It does, and it just raises more spikes of what's going to happen in the NFL. If this is already happening in college and these players are, quote unquote, not under contract, they're just playing there under scholarships. What's going to happen if these players are under contract in the NFL? I mean, I could see a situation where players are like, hey, or coaches are like, hey, why don't you play for me? And, I'll pay you an extra $1 million for it. It's
So CSU, they've tested 150 athletes yesterday. They'll get results expected tomorrow and Thursday. And I could just imagine if they do have, more skyrocketing
25%
positive tests, I could, imagine this is going to be leading back to more towards the wrong direction of having fall sports. If you want to read more up on this story, go to the Coloradian. This is the Coloradan. How do you say it?
It's the Coloradan. So, guys, get this. So this story broke from Kevin Lytle. He's a writer. He covers CSU for the Coloradan. He said, among complaints from Colorado State athlete staffers, coaches have told players not to report COVID-19 symptoms, threatened players with reduced playing time if they quarantine, and claim CSU is altering contact tracing reports to keep players practicing. Now, this is where the story gets interesting. A CSU football player quote tweets that tweet from Kevin Lytle, okay? This is what he said. Lots of misinformation. All coaches wear masks at all times. We fill out a symptom questionnaire daily before we are allowed into the facility. They even provided us with masks and wash them daily. The athletes/staffers that complained are the same ones not following protocol. So we're seeing a lot of CSU football players coming out and saying, no. This is not right. This report is inaccurate, and it's a spread of misinformation. So we're going to have to wait and see what comes of this, because if this report is true, this is a bombshell.
For sure.
And you darn well know that if it's going on at CSU, allegedly, that it's going on at other colleges around the country. But, man, I mean, to see this report come out and then right away to see the players reacting and saying this isn't true. I've seen several players say, no, this is false. This is not true. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
So it just makes you think and wonder who's going at CSU's neck. They haven't been the greatest team. They haven't had the best record the last couple of years. Who would be coming at them like that?
Well, and that's the biggest question. Like, whoever was complaining, and first of all, let me just say this. If you're going to complain and talk to a paper about what's going on, put your name on it, because this is an anonymous source that the writer for the Coloradan has. Put your name on it if you're going to complain. But secondly, if you are going to complain and say this was going on, what benefit would the people that are tattling have by exposing them? If this is false, why would they say this? What benefit? What would they gain out of this?
And it's funny, and that's the question. And even athletic director Joe Parker, he was disappointed by the criticism and said, they do have a plan, though, to keep the COVID-19, in place. It's just it's funny, man. They even have, in that article I was reading, a player, an anonymous player, as you said, put your name on it. He said, I believe there's a cover-up going on. So, it gets you to the question that is this even accurate information that's even being told to us? So,
well, what's crazy is remember early on this year when the whole SEC had a bunch of players testing positive, and it's like what if that's what's happening, These coaches are getting these players sick, or they're trying to get these players sick so that way they're not getting sick later on in the season. Because there's only been one case of a lady getting it twice. I mean, what if that's the case? They're trying to get these players sick so that way they can play later on and they don't have to worry about it because they've already built up this, immunity to it.
Yeah, so it's definitely getting scary. A little bit of Rockies update. Rockies up 1-0. Got Blackman here on first. They're, bottom of the fourth with 0 outs. We have Arenado up the bat. Arenado had a hell of a game.
Dude, he had a bomb last night. And by the way, let me just say, this happens every year in baseball, and I think it's been more exasperated this year because it's a shortened season. But everybody freaks out at the beginning of the year. Oh, Nolan's not hitting. He hasn't even hit a home run yet. Like, just calm down. Last year, through the first, I think it was like 10 games, he had 1 home run.
Yeah.
So, and he ended up with 40. So it's
41,
like
41.
just chill out, people. That's baseball. And that's same thing with the Nuggets in the bubble. They lose to the Heat and everybody's freaking out. It's like, guys, they were off for almost 5 months. That was their first game back.
Missing
they
3
were
starters.
out 3 starters. Just relax. Let it play out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so Nolan, that was his first homer of the year before the 2 RBIs because it was a 2-run homer. He only had 1 ribby. And so he has 3 on the year, still only batting .235. But as you said, as the season goes on, he's the type of guy to heat up. Talking about guys heating up, Blackman, who's batting right now at .368, who's just tremendous offense, what the Rockies have needed for sure. And especially Trevor Story, their home run hitter. To go back the offseason with all the Nolan Arenado, dispute with the GM and all that, it gives you, it puts a smile on my face, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Rocky fans' face to see where the Rockies at right now. I mean, they're the first in the National League West at 7-2, above the Dodgers and Padres, who are 7-4, right behind them, only a game and a half ahead of them. So we can see how long they can keep that up.
Oh, it's seriously, and we keep saying like usually a baseball season's a marathon. This is a sprint. This is a 100-meter dash to the finish line.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So
how about the Rockies starting pitching though?
Oh man,
they've been incredible. Herman Marquez has been fantastic. Kyle Freeland, we haven't even talked about Kyle Freeland. What did Kyle Freeland do last year? I mean, his rookie year, he was awesome, right? And we're like, oh my God, a Colorado kid, he knows how to pitch at altitude. He's figured it out. This is awesome. This is exactly the type of pitcher the Rockies needed. And then last year, he falls off, right? he's changed his mechanics in the offseason. We had Jeff Houston on our show today. He talked about how he really changed his mechanics to go towards the plate more instead of kind of falling off the mound. And, man, I mean, the Rockies pitching staff, John Gray, Antonio Senzatella, they've all been dominant so far.
And talking about pitching, tonight's German Marquez versus Kevin Gausman, a Colorado native out of Centennial right now. German, who's not letting a run up. And the Rockies, they got bases loaded right now with Matt Kemp, the designated hitter. So we could see, if they could put that score up to 5 here in bottom of the 4th with no outs. So they're putting the Giants in pressure here.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Hopefully they can win this one.
Yeah, and so coming up here in the next segment after the break, we got some bubble watch for y'all, some NBA talk. We got a list of games for y'all for sure, man. You'll be very excited when we come back. This is Sports with Staxx and Shaggy.
If it's great radio you're looking for, then you're in the right place. Because at GoMileHigh.com, we have tons of shows discussing sports, news, politics, entertainment, community affairs, and much, much more.
Awesome! Totally awesome!
And don't forget, if you miss out on one of your favorite shows, you can always access our archived episodes at GoMileHigh.com on your own time.
If I'm here and you're here, doesn't that make it our time?
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man. Live in the now.
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing.
Every day across this country, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air, broadcasting music and programming that you won't hear anywhere else.
It's one of the last places where people can really be able to actually say what they want to say.
Without it, you wouldn't have a place for local artists to perform. Certain people need to have a chance, a fighting chance, and college radio is that place for it.
College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it and can change those who listen to it too.
This is where we start out, from getting all this great experience working in college radio. It makes you want to work in real radio.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school, but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
I'm taking a trip over to Tibet, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama.
What?
The Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again. But I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
This is The Bubble Watch with Santiago Staxx Salazar, here on Sports with Staxx and Shaggy.
7 rebounds for Jokic. Alley-oop, that's too high. Oh, it's not too high! It's not too high!
Oh, hey, man, some games listed out for y'all. And earlier, Luka Doncic probably having one of the most, I think eye-popping triple-doubles. Jokic having his yesterday with the 31, 12, and 10. But Luka going insane. 34 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists. Going nuts out there as the Mavs beat – who is that? They beat the Kings in OT 114-110. And a close fought-out game. Not the Kings right now, they're looking like they're losing grips. There's a lot of these teams who are, on the outside looking in. But with the Suns who, don't really have the best statistical chance of making it, but they're still in the tournament. Got, a little bit of a game-ending, I don't know, heart-warmer, I would say.
Yeah, and to add on to the Mavericks game, they had 3 players go over 20 points. They had Luka with 34, they had Tim Hardaway at 22, and then Porzingis at 22. That's insane. 3 players over 20 points?
So, fellas, per ESPN stats info, there's been 4 30-point, 20-rebound, 10-assist games since the NBA-ABA merger. Luka Doncic is he's the second to do it this season, joining
Jokic.
Nikola Jokic.
Okay, and that was, what was that game? Was that it was one of the first games of the year, no?
I'll have to go back and look. I don't know when the game was. But yeah, so him and Joker are the only 2 players. Think about that, though. Only 4 guys in the history of the modern NBA, since the ABA-NBA merger, have accomplished that.
And 2 of them are within like a 5-year span. Not even like
2 of them this season.
A 1-year span, not even less.
5 months span.
Yeah, right? No, man, probably the most disappointing loss of the day, though, and I'm going to let that cue that to you, Jake. That was Devin Booker on, was that FS it was Arizona? Fox Sports Arizona?
Yes, it is.
It might have been Clippers feed. Who knows, man? We got to get better on that credit.
No, that was on Fox Sports Arizona. That was Fox Sports Arizona.
All right, that was Fox Sports Arizona with the game winner, or the call of the game winner of Devin Booker, knocking that down against the Clippers. Devin Booker, 35 points in this one. Mr. 70, we all know what he can do, his scoring ability. I call this, though, the disappointing loss of the day, because you have the Clippers here who are, a team who people have as a contender, same position as the Lakers. Lakers clinching the West, though, last night. And so pretty much right now the Clippers' playoff positioning has already been settled, I'd say, with that 2 spot. They're still facing off with the Nuggets. So I think, our homers out here, our local team, they're creeping up on them, and I think that's who they got to look out for. They can't afford to lose any games, and that's why I call it a disappointing loss, because you're facing off a team that has, 10 more losses than they have wins.
Amato, this was the best loss of the day.
The best loss.
This wasn't the most disappointing loss of the day.
All right.
This was the best loss of the day.
I contradict myself. You catch me,
dude. The Nuggets are now only 1 game behind the Clippers in the standings.
Okay.
This was a great loss.
I was looking through the lens of the national perspective, but
he was looking into the Los Angeles perspective.
Thank you for opening it up a bit.
The Nuggets are now only a game back of the Clippers for the 2nd seed in the Western Conference.
Yes, sir.
That shot by Devin Booker just made my day.
Okay. I didn't look at that until now.
And you know what's crazy
That's why
about
we had
that?
This man right
Remember when we were doing our top 50 NBA players list and Devin Booker got rated behind Trae Young? I think that just solidified that his spot's actually above Trae Young.
That's like a popularity contest, those lists. I'm not too big of a fan on those lists because the guys who write those lists, man, come on.
So, Jacob, you're taking 1 game-winning shot. All of a sudden,
no,
you can now Booker's ahead of Trae.
Well, I'm saying
I'm
saying from other stuff that he's done in his career. He's a very efficient scorer.
You got Trae Young over Booker?
I think Trae Young is going to be, when their careers are both said and done, I think Trae Young's going to have the better career.
The better legacy. Yeah, I feel you on that, just especially where
Don't get me wrong, Devin Booker's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
Hell of a player. I mean, Kentucky Wildcat, him and Jamal Murray always have really good battles when the Nuggets play the Suns. Great player. But I think Trae Young has that special factor, kind of like Steph Curry does, where he can just catch fire and drain threes from all over the court.
No, that's baby Steph, and he's not the most efficient. Defense is always a question with him. He's only 6'1".
Yeah, Steph doesn't play any defense.
Yeah, he has Clay and Draymond to do that for him.
And, well, we could actually replace this as our disappointing loss, since that's our best loss of the day. The Nets beating out the Bucks, who the Nets coming in this game were a -18. So if you had a Nets money line on that, or no, the Nets were +18. Excuse me. If you had a Nets money line on that, though, man, hey, you was cashing out and you was laughing to the bank. I assure you. No, man. And, you know, we was going to bash Giannis for, I don't know why, just because we was trying to bash someone who is a MVP that's not a Nugget, I guess. But, you know, he only played 16 minutes in this one. He was very productive, I guess, in his 16 minutes. The Bucks still lost. And you could see right here what Milwaukee's doing, what their coaching staff is doing. This is the preseason pretty much to them. You know, they're ready for the playoff, which I think that's kind of the wrong way to approach this. This is where you want to kind of get up and going. You want to move your legs that have been sitting on, you know, whatever it's been sitting on, your futon or your couch for the last past 4 months.
So what you're saying, Amato, is the NBA teams, the true contenders, shouldn't be treating this as like a ramp up to the playoffs. They should be in playoff mode right now.
Oh, for sure, man. This is like in the NFL when you get the wild card. When you get the wild card round, or no, you win those players, you know, get the first wild card bye, and they're just sitting at home. And then you got your, you know, the guys who are playing, and then those guys who come in that divisional game who've already been playing a week, they come in there and they, you know, usually will come out with like an underdog defeat.
Like the Titans?
No, I feel you. But you got to remember, this is a completely different circumstance. I mean, these guys haven't played a meaningful game in almost 5 months.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard to get straight into playoff mode.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're saying the first couple of games, maybe get your legs under you, ramp that up, I would feel you there. But after almost having 5 months off, you almost feel like this is the start of a new season.
Yeah, and I can go in that I feel you in that direction. And Milwaukee they are, you know, clinched that first seed in the Eastern Conference. So right now, sitting there may be, you know, that load management may be the way to go. But for me, I feel like this is the time where you got to get your legs up and going. You got to get that, you know, as you said, 4 months. There's two sides of the argument. 4 months, you know, yeah, you're not ready for all that, you know, all that playing. You know, you got to still let your body come at a certain pace. Where I'm to the
long enough time for Joker
side
to
of
get
that,
skinny.
you got to get in there and just go straight at it, man.
Yeah, you could look at it from both perspectives, but this is a very important time for these teams to start getting their teams players ready. And if you're not ready, you're going to be first round exited.
And I think I might be a little too harsh on the Bucks on like with their load management. I think what I'm trying to get at is teams like the Pelicans, when they're load managing your young guys like Zion, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but when you're thinking a team like that would have to be aggressive to try to get a playoff spot, as we say on the outside looking in, when you know you have to be as aggressive as you can to even try to get you a eighth seed. So when you're load managing guys like you already have a playoff spot, man, that's what I think ticks me off, and that's where, you know, when, you know, load management bugs me.
I feel like for the New Orleans situation is, you know, they're not going to make the playoffs. They're really on the outside looking in.
Then why are you playing then? You should have just sat out. You should have said, hey, no, we volunteer.
They're
we volunteer whoever to take our spot. Come on, man.
Well, that's what they're saying. I think
what was the point of the restart and bringing all these other teams in that wouldn't even play up? We should have just went straight to the playoffs then, man.
Well, I feel like they wanted to do that so that way they can give chances for teams that are like just barely on the outside looking in. I mean, you know, San Antonio, you know, Portland, all these teams, you know, they still had somewhat of a chance. Now, not exactly as much, but they still wanted to give them some chances, and not even then get these young players, some reps that they'd need. I mean, this is technically the time that they would be practicing, isn't it? This July, August, June. This is, you know, usually the practice time. This is usually when it's off season, so I could see some situation like that, you know, where they're just trying to get them some playing time, not their maximum starter minutes, but give them like 15 to 20 minutes a game, get them some time. Don't, you know, let them break a sweat here and there, but don't overdo it. You don't want to get these players hurt, because think about it. If you get, you know, if you're not making the playoffs, the next season starts in 3 months, 4 months. So it's like, might as well get them some live game reps while you can.
Yeah, get them ready to go. I feel you. And Amato, I honestly agree with what you said. Like, these players don't take it slow, kind of, you know, hit the ground running, right? Because the playoffs are right around the corner. I mean, think about the NHL. How is the NHL going to do that? They went straight to the playoffs. So we know it can be done, but you have to – this is where the coaching staffs are really going to earn their paychecks.
Mm-hmm.
They're really going to have to learn how to manage minutes while also staying competitive and getting guys ready for the playoffs.
We got an update here for the Rockies. The Giants tying the game. It looked like the Rockies were going to
It's under review. It's under review. So
hey, Mata, we still have the Giannis sound.
2 guys on base, and it hit the top of the wall. So they're reviewing to see if it was a home run or a ground rule double.
Okay, so we'll get back to you with that. But before we go, we got, a guy who we was criticizing a little bit in this segment, being a little bit Mr. Tough Guy. And thank you to Fox Sports Milwaukee. Giannis Antetokounmpo getting in a shoving match with the Nets player. I don't remember who that was. We'll have to get that to you. But
Dante
Giannis,
Hall.
hey, we're saying that it's not. He's not hitting the ground running. He's obviously getting intense out there. He's obviously getting intense, getting physical with those guys. Before we go to break, just a couple updates on some players who will be missing out the rest of the year. Jaren Jackson tore meniscus for the Memphis Grizz. Jonathan Isaac out with the ACL from the Magic. This is Sports with Staxx and Shaggy. We'll be right back.
Your summer just got hotter with the $4.99 unlimited buffet at Pizza Hut. That's right, all of your Pizza Hut favorites for only $4.99. Monday through Friday for lunch, and Tuesday night, dive into limitless pizzas, pastas, salads, breadsticks, and desserts. All hot, fresh, and ready for you when you are. So much good food for so little money makes satisfying that Pizza Hut craving so easy. The $4.99 Pizza Hut never-ending buffet, all at a great price and ready for you today. Make it great at Pizza Hut. It's back. The $12.99 buy one, get one, only at Olive Garden. Try our creamy fettuccine Alfredo, hearty spaghetti with meat sauce, or our melty 5-cheese baked ziti. While you're at it, make sure you take a second entree home. With so many choices, how can you go wrong? And don't forget about our endless salads and warm breadsticks. Order online or find one of our convenient locations near you. Olive Garden. When you're here, your family.
Hey Colorado sports fans, you're listening to GoMileHigh.com, a student-operated station live from the Colorado Media School studios here in Belmar, giving you a different perspective on all things current.
Stop torturing yourself, man. Live in the now.
So stay tuned to see what's coming up next on GoMileHigh.com, Colorado's sports lifestyle.
Showing.
Save up to 75% off on apparel, footwear, fan gear, and more. With free shipping of online orders over $49, you can't beat these deals. DickSportingGoods.com has your fitness set up for the new year. That was online at DickSportingGoods.com. Stop by.
Go Mile High, your college radio for sports, movies, and games. Run by students, for students, and more.
Let's see what they can do here from the 5.
Sports news, live games, and discussions about just about everything.
Disney turning their rides in their parks into movies.
So close so many times, and to have that snatched away.
Come and join us every day for your favorite shows, only at GoMileHigh.com.
At Chewy's, weekdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Fully loaded nacho car.
Nacho car?
Yeah, that's right, and it's free. You'll get chips, salsa, queso, taco, meat, and more. And don't forget to pair it with one of the signature margaritas. Only at Chewy's. Tex-Mex done right. Must be 21. Find a location near you at Chewy's.com. Hurry in. 7 p.m. The trunk closes.
We're going to work him outside at nickel, along with obviously a bunch of other people at both positions, and we'll see how it unfolds by the time we line up against Tennessee. But he's going to work both spots.
And thank you, Vic Fangio. Was Vic Fangio talking about Bryce Callahan and his, expectations of him. Callahan, who played with Fangio and Fangio's defense in Chicago, we've yet to see him and what he can do in a Denver Bronco uniform. Been battling injury the last season. Callahan is part of a secondary group with A.J. Boye, Duke Dawson, Devontae Bosby, specifically corners, guys who we want to, who can be, since Chris Harris Jr. has left, who can fill up that hole.
Yeah, so they got A.J. Boye in free agency to cover at least one hole in the in the backfield, but there's still a lot of question marks. And like you said, Bryce Callahan hasn't performed the way he did in 2018 in Vic Fangio's defense. And there's also many question marks on Duke Dawson, Isaiah Yadam. Yeah, I could see a situation where the Broncos even could look in free agency or could trade halfway through the year for a corner.
If only they would have kept, a perennial Pro Bowl, Super Bowl champion slot cornerback.
Yeah, I mean, if only. But is he on the back half of his career though? Come on, he was beating a lot.
Sure. But who do you trust more, Isaac Yiadom or Chris Harris Jr.?
Don't ask me that question because everyone knows the answer to that. Isaac Yiadom.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, look, this is going to be a big year for Isaac Yiadom, though, because the Broncos had high hopes when they drafted him a couple years ago, and this is the coaching staff saying, hey, Chris Harris Jr. is gone. I know they brought in A.J. Boye. I like that move a lot, actually, but this is going to be the final sort of test year for Isaac Yiadom. Can you be the guy or not?
His first couple years, just a special teams guy. Now he's thrown into the fire of where he's actually going to be seeing substantial playing time and seeing if, is this guy, has he improved or is he still the same guy with the flaws from year 1 and 2? This is a big opportunity for him to kind of get his name within that, that Bronco defensive chemistry. That, a lot of players have left. I think Vaughn is the only guy on that defensive team that's left from Super Bowl 50. So if they're, see if the Broncos can kind of make a new kind of unit, a new day and age with the, the Simmons era of football, as I would say.
Yeah, you also have Bradley Chubb. You have a lot of young pieces. This is a very young AFC team. Them and the Raiders are both very young in the AFC West, respectively. But there's going to be some growing pains. I wouldn't be surprised if right off the bat the Broncos didn't start off on a very hot streak just because, there's no preseason going. There's no training camp, really. There's, training camp, but, they're not doing the same drills that they are before. I can see a situation where the Broncos start off on a slow start. They're going to really want to see their defense pick up in the first couple weeks because the defense is going to have to carry the offense in those first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look, you guys are saying it's kind of like a rebuilding time for the Broncos defense. Their defense is still very good. They had the number 1 red zone defense in the NFL last year. They've got Bradley Chubb returning. Von Miller looks like a beast. Did you see those quads?
Hey, man, he's something else. He looks rejuvenated.
His quads look like they have biceps. Quadceps. I mean, seriously. So get this, too, while we're talking about Von Miller, guys. Von was talking today to the media, and he talked about how he watched The Last Dance, the MJ documentary, and said this is what he took away from it. He said that he vows to lead differently after watching The Last Dance. He said, quote, what I was doing before wasn't good enough. So that's a guy, look, this is his 10th year in the NFL, 10 years. And he's self-reflecting, looking at himself in the mirror and saying, my leadership, I can do better. Yeah, I can hold guys accountable more like MJ did. Because what did we see in The Last Dance? Michael didn't care about making friends. He cared about winning. And he called teammates out for not giving it their all. And the thing about Michael and what Vaughn's trying to do, Michael said in the documentary, he never asked or expected anything from his teammates that he didn't expect from himself. So that's what Von Miller is trying to do. It's pretty cool how it's like 10 years into your career. He's a vet. There's still stuff that you can do better. There's still stuff that you can learn.
Learning every day. And just, though, the thing that kind of throws me off is, does Vaughn have that personality?
Well, and he talked about that.
Switch that off?
He talked about that. Well, look, it's just like anything. You can work on stuff. You can get better You can get better at football. You can get better at the football side of football, and you can get better at the mental, leadership side of football. And I think that's what Vaughn's really going to focus on this year.
And to go back to when he was talking to the media, he also threw in there that spending more time with Elway, learning, picking his brain. Elway, obviously, he was saying one of the GOATs. He was one of the GOATs that you have in the organization. So trying to see what he did through his career. And Vaughn, like you said, in his 10th year, always picking up something new. That's a real pro right there. Because, man, just because you're 10 years in the NFL doesn't mean that you can't, pick something up new.
Mm-hmm.
And that just goes for the case of life, for sure, man.
And speaking of that, I actually have a little bit of sound from the top 100 of Von Miller.
Because he is such a difference maker, whether he shows it in the stat book or not. I feel like he did a great job doing everything he was asked to do. Honestly, in Vic Fangio's defense, I'll take Vaughn. He's going to keep going up, and up.
Vaughn only 8.5 sacks last year. People trying to criticize him for a down year.
But as you heard them just say, I mean, he had a down year because he was doing everything for the whole entire team. I mean, Bradley Chubb got hurt. They really had, Malik Reed, kind of came in.
It was one of those years that, those first years that I actually seen Vaughn, a defensive player in all type of, areas. He was playing in the zone. He was playing the run game. They didn't just have him as a pass rusher. He was everywhere. And it had to do with him having to fill up the mold, losing Bradley Chubb, who I know Broncos country is ecstatic for, to getting him back after that ACL tear. So to get him back, man, and it kind of brings back that pass rush. We haven't had a pass rush like this, at least on paper, since Vaughn and D. Ware. So we can see if Chubb brings that. You saw what he did his rookie year. What is it, 10.5, 8.5 sacks that he had his rookie year? He
had 12.
Oh, it was 12. Okay, so I'm way under. Either way, it was an above average year for a rookie. And, it was unfortunate his second year. He goes down, I think, in week 4 or week 5 with that injury.
Against the Jaguars.
And so it was a big bust for him to go down that early in the year. So, you're definitely excited to see what he can bring
you
in
still
year
have
3.
One more Vic Fangio sound.
Basically, the way it will happen is I'll run the team meeting in front of the offense. The defensive players will be in the defensive room watching the team meeting virtually. And then when that team meeting's over, obviously I'll go to the defense and run the defensive meeting like always. So if there's any questions that maybe they didn't get answered or had from the team meeting, they'll be able to ask me then. Asking questions from one virtual room to the other is a little cumbersome, and so we have to get through that part of it. But it's different. It feels different. It is different.
And thank you again to DenverBroncos.com for that sound of Vic Fangio talking about how he's going to be doing the different team meetings in offense and defensive, rooms selectively with the Zoom calls.
Yeah, and is that going to hurt the team chemistry though? I mean, it makes more sense for sure. That'd be a big Zoom call to have 53 players all in one. So I mean, it's just that's the unfortunate thing with this virtual stuff and why COVID messes things up. Because when you're actually in a building, you're having those team meetings, you can interact with those. Those guys you don't play on the same side of the ball. You're not going to interact with them on the field. So the only time you're going to be able to interact with them is off the field. So that off the field interaction with your teammates builds chemistry. So I think that, it's unfortunate you got to have, even have virtual meetings in the first place. But, he's going to split them up, so we'll see how that works.
The only thing the only thing that worries me about the virtual meetings is the rookies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier for them to pick things up if they're in person in class, in the film rooms.
Mm-hmm.
But look, the whole NFL is dealing with this, so it's not like the Broncos are the only team that has to do this. They're just going to have to adjust and overcome. But one more thing about Vaughn, real quick, that I wanted to mention: the Broncos averaged 17 points a game last year. Averaged 17 points a game. Their offense was terrible. The defense was on the field constantly, and they were on the field down. What do teams do when they're up? They run the ball. That's why Vaughn's sacks numbers were so low last year. So, look, if Drew Lock can go out there and give you 23, 24 points a game, you're going to see those sack numbers start to come back up.
And that's middle of the pack at least, and that's better than bottom of the pack because the Broncos were bottom 5 in scoring.
Hey, but I mean, when you got Brandon Allen and a washed-up Joe Flacco as your quarterback for the first 9 weeks or first 13 weeks of the season, yeah, man, you're going to have not the best offensive numbers. But now we got Drew Lock, our starter for sure. Can he be our franchise leader that takes us into, the new era and the new age, man? We haven't had one since Peyton Manning. But coming up, we have an article talking about the biggest question for the AFC going into training camp. Could that be one of those questions? This is Sports with Staxx and Shaggy.
Colorado Media School, hands-on learning in one of the most exciting career fields out there. Internship opportunities are limitless. We have 3 on-campus radio stations, 2 TV stations, and you'll have the opportunity to participate in projects like doing play-by-play live from the sporting event or the 48-hour film project. We have after-graduation career placement assistance and financial aid for those who qualify. Check us out online at coloradomediaschool.com on Facebook and Instagram, and CO Media School on Twitter and Snapchat. You can also call 303-937-7070.
There's a side of aloha with every meal at L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. A unique style of Hawaiian place with 2 scoops of rice and a creamy macaroni salad. It's delicious for the whole family. Join our ohana or come party with catering and get the goods like recipe books, hats, and gift cards. Come to our 2 convenient locations in Aurora or one in the Springs. Or you can order online at hawaiianbarbecue.com. L&L Hawaiian Barbecue.
Jill, why didn't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If you have ever dreamed about being on TV or the radio, listen up. Start your broadcasting career today at the Colorado Media School. You'll have the opportunity to work with and learn from actual on-air talent that work within the Colorado media. Within a few months, you'll know how to engineer, produce, and even host your own TV/radio show. I'm a current graduate, and let me tell you, the Colorado Media School has given me opportunities and internships that have helped me take my career to the next level. So apply today at the Colorado Media School, located at 404 South Uppan Street in Lakewood, or visit us at coloradomediaschool.org.
Come on in to the Cacharis River Bed and Breakfast for an inviting and relaxing retreat in the southwestern Colorado mountains. Whether you're kicking up your feet in the comfy day room or sipping on cocktails down by the river, you're sure to have a great time. Enjoy fishing, hiking, and hunting, all with the comforts of walk-in showers, private balconies overlooking the beautiful Cacharis River and Valley, and breakfast cooked fresh daily by the loving hands of the owner, Galen Smith. If you get hungry in the afternoon or evening, grab a cold one, good company, and grill out on the deck. Or you can come stay at the famous Dog Bar and Grill, just a stone's throw from the B&B. Book your room now at CacharisRiverBnB.com. That's CUCHARAS RiverBnB.com. Cacharis River Bed and Breakfast. Tell them Arthur sent you.
Sitting here watching the Rockies, that 2-3 Arenado with just doing Arenado
so
things.
Good.
Come on, man. Two-way player.
I know we're getting into
best.
football here, but I just want to say Nolan Arenado might already be the greatest third baseman in baseball history.
Yeah.
He has 7 gold gloves. He has a gold glove every year he's been in the majors. Every year. Nobody's ever done that.
Man.
That is crazy. And he's one of the top offensive third basemen of all time as well. The dude is just he's incredible. The fact that Jeff Bridich pissed him off pisses me off. Are you kidding me, Jeff Bridich?
Well,
You're going to go after the best third baseman in baseball, possibly baseball history, the best Rocky of all time, and you're going to piss him off because He wanted you to improve the roster more than you did over the offseason. And by the way, Jeff, the Rockies, you guys, they didn't make a single transaction in the offseason. Not one. So he has a right to be pissed off. I'm sorry. I'm done with my rant.
No. You're good. I like it. Give us a taste of that. No, I mean, Nolan, you could put in that conversation arguably one of the best Colorado athletes of all time. And he's still currently going.
He's got to win a chip. He's got to win a chip to be put in that. It's the same with the Avs and Nathan MacKinnon. Like, Nathan MacKinnon is one of the greatest Avs already in the Avs history. I mean, the Avs have a deep-rooted history, but he's got to win a championship. Like, I get asked all the time, how does Nathan MacKinnon, compare to, Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg? He's got to get a championship before you can put him with those guys.
Well, hopefully this is the year they can do it, and it looks pretty good. Getting into a guy who we're hoping to win our next championship, the guy who might have the city on lock, and he might have the keys to it. And, his question with this article that we got from CBS Sports, what can Denver expect from Drew Lock, who is now the full-time starter? And this is what we've been critiquing pretty much ever since, the season's ended, and ever since, they've made those moves to get Jerry Jeudy, to get KJ Hamler, a little bit more speed surrounding him. Pretty much what everyone's been saying is, you've put the weapons around this guy to be successful. So, honestly, I think one of the most successful quarterbacks in the league. We've seen what second-year quarterbacks have been capable of the last couple of years.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's going to win the MVP next year.
And I'm not on that right now. I'm talking about Drew Lock. We're talking about the AFC West, not the NFC West. Maybe some other time. But not even just the success Drew Lock's going to have, the success Noah Fant will have, the success Cortland Sutton will have. And it all, I don't know if it's going to be accredited to a Pat Shermer or the system they're running, or is it going to be accredited to more of the personnel that's on the team? You see what, the Broncos did to match up with the Super Bowl contenders, the Chiefs, matching speed around them, but the Raiders
did the same thing. Yeah.
Adding Henry Ruggs.
Look, it's so funny how the NFL works because it's such a copycat league.
Oh, it seriously is.
And, look at the Broncos in 2013. They had the best offense in NFL history. They get crushed by Seattle in the Super Bowl. So what does John Elway do? He goes out. He gets DeMarcus Ware. He gets Aqib Talib. He builds up the defense. TJ Ward, Darian Stewart. He won with a dominant defense. But now it's just so funny to me how the pendulum switches and shifts so much in the NFL. Now teams aren't trying to, you're not going to stop the Chiefs' offense.
No.
The only thing you can try and do is hope to contain them and then match them on offense. And that's what John Elway went out and tried to do in the draft. And people are upset they didn't get an offensive lineman. And look, I wanted them to take another tackle in this draft. They did get Lloyd Cushenberry, who's going to be a really good center for them. Great player at LSU. But people don't understand. The sack rates were so high because they had Joe Flacco and Brandon freaking Allen behind center. Two statues. Drew Lock was the least sacked quarterback the last 5 games of any quarterback in the NFL. He's a mobile quarterback. He's not a Lamar Jackson type who's going to be running all over the field, but he can escape the pocket. He can manipulate the pocket, and he's going to be able to help out his offensive line. Look, I don't think the offensive line is going to be an issue this year for the Broncos. Now, Jawan James sitting out, that may cause some headaches because they don't have any depth on the offensive line. So that might be an issue. But I'm telling you guys, with Drew Lock behind center, the sack rates are going to go down. And with the added weapons, the added speed that John Elway brought in the offseason, it's only going to help Drew Lock's progression, and it's going to help him get rid of the ball quicker because these guys are so fast, they're going to be getting open quicker.
Yeah, well, I think what Drew Lock brings, and this is going to be something hot, I'm going to say, but what Peyton Manning didn't bring, he extends the play. He's able to leave the pocket, And the Broncos haven't really had a quarterback like that can extend the play that Drew Lock has at least shown the potential that he can do. Had 7 touchdown passes down the stretch of the year. Also a gunslinger and an athletic quarterback's body. So, he does have that young kind of college young kid still philosophy, try to run the ball, but as he grows and as he comes accustomed to the NFL, he's going to become more pinpoint with his passing, and he just has unbelievable intangibles to compete with the Pat Mahomes. And there's not really too many other quarterbacks in our division of no other than Pat Mahomes, and I think you could see a Drew Lock being a top 10 or maybe even a top 5 quarterback within a couple of years.
So I want to add off to something you guys said earlier. So when you guys were breaking down the AFC West teams and saying that they were a copycat league, it almost seems like the Chargers went on the exact opposite because they went and got corners. They got Chris Harris. They already have Casey Hayward. They drafted a free safety last year with the Nasir Adderley. So it's like they almost went the exact opposite. And they're like, we're going to build a team to try to stop them.
Not to interrupt you, Jake, but I think that the Chargers didn't go get Chris Harris. Chris Harris went to them because you saw Chris Harris. He was in talking to the Chiefs. I feel like Chris Harris has a vendetta against the Broncos of letting him go. I feel like he really wanted to stay here. And, and he understands it's a business, but he's going away with – he wants to beat us now. He wants to compete against us now because he feels like he still had some left in the tank. And I don't know. That's just me personally thinking that.
I mean, the Chargers did take a quarterback with the 7th overall pick.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. I mean, they didn't go – like, I agree with you. They built up the defense. But now I'm telling you, in this next draft, these next couple drafts, you're going to see the Chargers try and build up their wide receiving core.
They already have a wide receiving core.
They've got Keenan Allen.
They got Mike Williams. Mike Williams was a top 10 pack in the last.
He's okay. He's been disappointing.
I mean, not in 2018, and last year he was disappointing. But in 2018, he had 10 touchdown catches.
But it's what have you done for me lately kind of business.
And then he was hurt most of last year. You know that, right?
All right, well, we got to see what it is, man. They have Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert. They don't have Phillip Rivers there no more. Can he play with quarterbacks who are not, prone to passing? Can he play with the guys who are conservative playing?
They have a running back that's a receiving running back. I mean, it's not like their running back's the second best receiving running back in the NFL coming out of Western State, Austin Eckler. Like, he's top 3 receiving running back in the league, so that's almost a wide receiver right there.
That could be a sleeper team.
We got the LA Chargers defense lawyer back there today.
He's just I don't think he's a Bronco fan.
We pushed a button with our with talking trash about the Chargers offense.
Hey, I got a Chargers friend at home that's listening, so I got to make sure I support his team.
So he's okay. So
you know a Chargers fan?
I do know a Chargers fan.
I know one Chargers fan. I'm not even kidding you. Literally, I know one person, and it's a guy who listens to our radio show.
I know one person that wears Chargers gear. I don't know if he's a Chargers fan. I think he likes the powder blue. I don't know
those
if he's
powder
a
blue
fan.
uniforms are nice. You can't say that they're not nice.
I mean, he's local gang member.
Again, we've got the Chargers defense guy over here. Like, what's going on?
Hey, how many rings do they got again? Oh, none. Okay. Okay.
Well,
that is that conversation.
Tommy has 6 though.
That is true. Tommy has twice as many as the Broncos do.
Hey, I'll give him 7 and put one around his eye.
Oh, we actually talked about where he was going to put the other one, but we can't be discussing that on the radio. Me and Dan would. He'll be putting the 7th one somewhere.
Getting back to with the CBS article, I'm trying to see. I think this is from who wrote this. We're going to have to get that
Hey, you
down.
still have the repeating Super Bowl champion sound for the Chiefs.
But transitioning from the Broncos, we'll get it to the powerhouse of the NFL. The Broncos, who I think the biggest rival of them, people try to say the Raiders. But, hey, it's not a rivalry if a team is good and the other team stinks. I think the Broncos and Chiefs rivalry has had a little bit more.
You guys think there could be a brewing Mahomes-Drew Lock rivalry?
Hey, man, I'm hoping so. Come on.
My question is, how is there a Broncos-Chief rivalry? I just want to ask you guys, when's the last time the Broncos have beat the Chiefs?
Oh, no.
Hey, I'm not saying there is right now, but there could be a budding
it could be in the
rivalry.
Making. I mean, you got
if the Broncos are good, if they're making the playoffs, that's when the rivalry can start.
And Drew Lock, a kid from Missouri, not even just being against Mahomes, but if he's able to develop that rivalry against Mahomes, his family back home is going to be excited because they get to see he's the opposite of a rivalry now. You know what I mean? He's on the other side of a rivalry they probably would have been cheering for before he made the league, and they get to see that twice a year.
I mean, the Broncos' only true rival over the last decade has been a team outside of the division. It's been the Patriots.
Yeah,
that's been the Broncos' biggest rivalry by far.
Well, you could also
put
the Colts. You could put the Colts there when Manning was here. That was a big rivalry because you can't say that every Broncos Colts game wasn't.
There was never a Colts Broncos rivalry.
I think that it was just with the Patriots. It's just there's always been a lot of at stake when it comes playing the Patriots and the Broncos. And there's been games where there hasn't. There's just been terrible blowouts. Like a couple years ago when Brock was the starter and they blew us out with Tebow. But there's also been some really good games.
Well, Brock beat the Patriots in
their
Super Bowl year here in Denver in overtime.
I'm talking about the one when Chris Collinsworth gave him the jinx. The jinx interception, you remember that?
Oh yeah,
with Brock Osweiler.
Yeah,
in 2017. That was in 2017.
Oh, okay. Well, that doesn't count because I mean, come on, like that team was.
It wasn't
garbage.
even a team. Yeah,
hey, they started off 3-1.
Hey man,
and then lost 8 straight.
Hey man, we don't like to remember that, but
I like to remember that.
But either or, man. The Broncos I'm excited for them to get back in track. Can we see a Mahomes and Locke rivalry in the making? I think we can, but with Mahomes being the king of the NFL right now, with that $500 million contract, we got a little bit of something for you.
I think if there's ever a team that can handle it, it's this team. In large part because Andy Reid. Andy Reid handled failure in the past and kept getting the Eagles to the postseason, and they couldn't win it. But I think he's the perfect guy and the perfect mentality for that. But not only that, he got everybody back.
And thank you to the Pick Six podcast for that awesome sound about Patrick Mahomes and as well as Andy Reid.
People forget, though, Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, that's like a match made in heaven. Like, Andy Reid's always been a high-tempo offensive guy ever since his days with Donovan McNabb and T.O. Like, that, man, it's a match made in heaven. He made Alex Smith look like a prototypical, like, bazooka arm, man. Come on, and he wasn't even all that. He put up crazy stats with Andy Reid. He put up modest stats with the Niners. Come on, man. Andy Reid's offense just caters to quarterbacks.
But Andy Reid and Bruce Arians, those are quarterback gurus right there. Those are players. Those are coaches that have coached great quarterbacks and have coached not so great quarterbacks and turned them into great quarterbacks. I mean, you look at the coaching tree between.
I wouldn't say not so great. I'd say average. Average at best.
Bruce Arians really a quarterback genius. Jameis Winston setting the interception record last year.
Well, you know that Bruce Arians also.
What a genius.
You know Bruce Arians also coached Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning, right?
Who else did he coach?
And as well as
Curtis Painter?
Carson Palmer.
Yeah, and Gary Kubiak and a bunch of no-name quarterback coaches for the Broncos also coached Peyton, and they had some pretty good success.
Hey, man,
yeah, but Bruce Arians coached him early in his career.
Bruce Arians is a good coach.
It was Peyton Manning. It didn't matter who was his quarterback coach. That's my point.
Yeah, but like early in his career, he wasn't. He was good, but he set the rookie record for interceptions.
And look, I get it. Like Bruce Arians is a good quarterback. He's good at developing quarterbacks. But you're talking about Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning. You're going to tell me those two guys wouldn't have been successful without the tutelage of Bruce Arians early on in their careers? Come on, man.
Bruce Arians is a good guy.
Those early Steelers teams were all running teams.
But you think that's why he got hired, though, is because he was just a guy in the right spot at the right time? He just was on the coaching staff?
Okay, hold on.
No.
So they were running teams, right? Mm-hmm. So what factor does Bruce Arians have with Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, I'm saying that Steelers team was, because he is the offensive coordinator.
What does Bruce Arians matter?
Because he's the offensive coordinator.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about his ability to develop young quarterbacks.
I know you're high on that Kyler Murray too, man. That's why you're high on Bruce Arians now. He's Kyler Murray adjacent all of a sudden, Bruce Arians. So now you got to be
Bruce
high
Arians is in Tampa Bay.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought. Oh, he's on Arizona.
No, Cliff Kingsbury's in Arizona.
That's what I was talking about. Jameis Winston.
Oh my God.
The quarterback whisperer coached his quarterback up to the record for most interceptions in an NFL season.
You know what's also crazy? They did the numbers for those interceptions. You know that half of those interceptions were bounced off the receiver's hands.
Yeah, but they also did a study that said he could have thrown potentially anher 25 picks that defenders dropped.
They did, yeah.
So, he said they did, yeah. He agreed.
But you can't.
He said, I heard that one too.
Bruce Arians.
I got him.
But Bruce Arians is not the one calling those plays. You know that, right?
Of course, he's calling those plays.
I'm not playing those plays. Bruce Arians is not the one that's
absolutely
Bruce
calling
Arians is not
those
the
plays.
one that's throwing the ball. Bruce Arians can call a perfect play, but he's not the one throwing the ball. Who's the one throwing the ball? Jameis Winston. He can call a perfect play and have the post open right open. But if Jameis wants to throw to the slant that's covered, that's not his fault.
Yeah,
that's Jameis' fault.
Yeah, but that's to the point where Bruce Arians needs to coach him up better in order to make in-field, in-game adjustments.
You want to know another crazy statistics? All three of those quarterbacks I mentioned earlier, Manning, Roethlisberger, and Carson Palmer, all had their highest interception rate when they played under the Bruce Arians offense the very first year. And in the very next year, they had one of their greatest statistical seasons. So it's saying that it's high risk, high reward. Bruce Arians' offenses, there's a lot of 7 to 9 step drops where you're sitting in the pocket looking downfield for a John Brown, a Larry Fitzgerald. I'm just doing the 2015 Cardinals. Or you're looking for, from this one, a Mike Evans or a Chris Godwin. It's not going to be underneath passes.
So Tom Brady's going to have a ton of interceptions this year.
Yes,
and then suck this year, and then he'll be better next year. Is what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if
you got time for that, man.
I don't know if
time for that.
Those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. So,
this is Sports with Staxx and Shaggy. We're joined with Dan Tanner here, and you can find us on at Amato_is balling on Twitter, or at Jake Shadler_Shadler on Twitter. Where can they find you, Dan?
At Dan Tanner 091.
You can find us at Go Mile High on Facebook, GoMileHigh.com, and at Go Mile High on Twitter. We're talking a little bit of NFL talk. My two co-hosts getting in a debate of Bruce Arians. Hey, that was getting heated over there. So what is the conclusion of this debate?
We've got a Chargers apologist and a Bruce Arians apologist and a Jameis Winston apologist.
Hey, I'm not a Jameis Winston apologist, but I'm a Bruce Arians one, okay? I'm very high on Bruce Arians. So I got to be high on Bruce Arians. You can't tell me that 2015 Cardinals team wasn't insane. He resurrected Carson Palmer's career.
Okay, what did they do?
They went to the NFC Championship and got blown out.
They got destroyed. Yeah, come on, man.
By a team that themselves got destroyed in the next round.
Either way,
so imagine how bad the Cardinals would have.
Hey guys, either way, Gostkowski got paid off to miss that kick against the Broncos.
Oh man, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're a conspiracy theorist sports guy. That's what
Boston
you are.
sports fans are the worst.
Okay.
Not as bad as Denver sports fans. They just think we got to win it every year like Dallas sports fans.
How are we not? How are we as bad as Boston sports fans?
Because they say they're going to win.
You ain't even from Boston. How can you even?
Well, my grandpa's from Boston. My grandpa's from Rhode Island. From
Boston. You're a Boston adjacent, I guess. Okay. Hey, this is Sports with Staxx and Shaggy. Coming up, we got some more Nuggets talk, getting in depth. MPJ getting some recognition on the national stage. We'll be back on the other side of the break.
That was good.
Every day, across this country, hundreds of college radio stations take to the air, broadcasting music and programming that you won't hear anywhere else.
It's one of the last places where people can really be able to actually say what they want to say.
Without it, you wouldn't have a place for local artists to perform. Certain people need to have a chance, a fighting chance, and college radio is that place for it.
College radio changes the lives of those who are involved with it and can change those who listen to it too.
This is where we start out, from getting all this great experience working in college radio. It makes you want to work in real radio.
College radio means finding yourself. It helped me find what I wanted to do in not only school, but in life.
So support college radio by continuing to listen to this station and supporting the students who make it happen. College radio, now, more than ever. A message brought to you by this station and the College Radio Foundation. For more information, please visit collegeradio.org.
I'm taking a trip over to Tibet, see the sights, climb a hill or two. But I remember, oh man, I got one guy out here who I actually know. So I give an old ringy-dingy to the Lama.
What?
The Dalai Lama, his laminescence, flowing robes, the grace, bald, striking really. I says to the Lama, hey, you remember that round I caddied for you down in Shangri-La? Well, apparently some station out in Lakewood taped the whole thing. See, the Lama's a big hitter. Nailed 2 eagles in a row that day. Well, he says, what station could have possibly gotten all the way out to my sacred holy lands, the Shangri? I says it was none other than GoMileHigh.com, Lama. They got the best sports coverage in the state. The Lama actually tips me this time, 2-1. So he pretty much stiffed me again, but I got him hooked on GoMileHigh.com. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
That's great.
GoMileHigh.com.
Go Mile High, your college radio for sports, movies, and games. Run by students, for students, and more.
Let's see what they can do here from the 5.
Sports news, live games, and discussions about just about everything.
Disney turning their rides in their parks into movies.
So close so many times, and to have that snatched away.
Come and join us every day for your favorite shows, only at GoMileHigh.com.
There's a side of aloha with every meal at L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. A unique style of Hawaiian place with 2 scoops of rice and a creamy macaroni salad. It's delicious for the whole family. Join our ohana or come party with catering and get the goods like recipe books, hats, and gift cards. Come to our 2 convenient locations in Aurora or one in the Springs. Or you can order online at HawaiianBarbecue.com. L&L Hawaiian Barbecue.
Last night, a star was born for the Denver Nuggets, a star who will change their franchise going forward. When you have 6'10", and he's making 42% of his threes this year. But I know he's been making them mostly in the shadows because he's only started 3 games. Right. And he was forced to start this one yesterday because there was no Jamal Murray, there was no Gary Harris, there was no Will Barton. Right. So they needed him to step up and play. He's been in the doghouse, in and out of the doghouse all year for Mike Malone because he won't crash the boards the way Mike Malone believes he can. Especially at 16. That's what I'm saying.
And that was Skip Bayless on MPJ and his big night on was that Fox Sports? Give credit to them. MPJ 37 points off of 12 for 16 shooting. Was it 4 for 6 from downtown? 12 rebounds. Just like
Phenomenal.
Everyone said, he needs to have a good game, at least a decent game. No one told him to go out there and ball like he was a 5-time All-Star.
Well,
man.
it seems
Come
like he
on.
wanted that. I mean, he texted, Coach Malone, repeatedly 3 times saying, like, I'm sorry, Coach, the way I played. I'm sorry for not getting any rebounds in that first Heat game.
Mhm.
Seems like he came out there with a mentality like, I want to prove myself, and, before I prove to anyone else, like, I could do this.
And there was only 1 assist, I think, but there were points in the game where he was trying to make plays for teammates. He was playing very unselfish. He seems like a guy at his full potential could score 30 points in his sleep. He could have a type of, a quiet 30-point game, You look at him, you don't really seem like he's seen a lot of production from him in the night, but then you go look in the box score, like, oh, damn, he's had 25, 30 points. He seems like one of those Kevin Durant guys who just
about to
scores
say
in a
that.
flash.
He's like a Kevin Durant, Dirk Nowitzki kind of guy. He reminds me just like that.
I
a
think
tall guy that can score and as well can dunk.
MPJ's a little bit more sturdy. I think he has a little bit more muscle than KD. KD was like as big as this microphone, man. Come on now. He was a twig coming in the league, but he was a very lethal scorer.
It's funny that you say that he's a twig, but I guarantee you none of us here would want to try to guard that twig.
Oh, no, man. He's 7 foot, 240. He's not as small as he used to be coming out of Texas. But it's still, man, I think Michael Porter Jr., this is just the beginning, as everyone's saying. But my question is, when Jamal Murray gets back, is Jamal going to be seeing the ball at the same rate as he was, or are they going to be trying to integrate a little bit of Michael Porter Jr. in there as well, try to establish him as a potential number 2?
Well, I mean, Jamal's still going to be seeing the ball because he's the point guard, so he's going to be running the offense. But also, Nikola Jokic is kind of their point center. He's going to be running the offense as well. It'll be interesting to see when Will, Gary, and Jamal come back. Will Michael Porter Jr. stay in the starting lineup? I think he should. I like Will Barton better coming off the bench. I think he adds a lot of pop coming off the bench. Michael Porter Jr. needs to be in the starting lineup.
I agree too, and
he needs to be in the starting lineup.
To move on to your point even more, I think they need to move Will Barton down to 1 more and put Jakeem Grant at the second rotation for the number 3. So because if you put him if you bring in Jakeem Grant with this number 2s, that's perfect. He has enough energy to bring some scoring on there.
Jakeem Grant. Who's Jakeem Grant?
Jakeem Grant, Jeremy Grant. My bad. I'm stuck on that Dolphins receiver. My bad.
No, you're good, man. No, I feel you. So you're saying Will Barton come after? He's third on the depth chart at the small forward position?
Well, I mean, who would you rather have?
Come on now, Will Barton at least bring some production to get
dude, Will
in the
Barton's
rotation.
he's a good player. I mean, let's not forget he was the Nuggets' best player for the first 2 months of this season this year.
Hey, Will the Thrill, I know people remember when the Nuggets were really bad when they first acquired Will Barton, when I think it was Brian Shaw was still the coach. Like, he got that nickname because there was really no reason to watch Nuggets games, and then he'd do something out of the ordinary, a crazy dunk, and then it'd be something special. Now, I feel with Will Barton, he has a big ego. He still thinks he's like the best player on the team. He has to realize, though, those were back when we were those terrible Nuggets, those rebuilding Nuggets. You have to understand, man, you're more of a backseat role, And you saw last year in the Portland game when he was coming off the bench as that 6th man, it kind of looked like he was, that kind of that minus, that subtract, and that plus minus he had was that subtraction, man. And I just wasn't so hype about it. Every time Will went in there, the offense went stagnant. So, hopefully it's much different from it. Hopefully he's learned from that Portland series of last year. But I'm more of big on Barton starting, opposed to what Dan's saying.
See, I don't like him starting because Will Barton's an isolation basketball player, and that's not what the Nuggets want to do on offense. They want to be moving, constant movement. If you're standing for more than 2 seconds in this offense, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That's why I like, this is what Michael Porter Jr. did so well in this game against the Thunder yesterday. He started cutting to the basket. His first, 16 of his 20 points in the first half were because he cut to the basket. Guys, you have the best passing big man of all time. He's 25 years old. Cut and he will find you. Michael Porter Jr. talked about that after the game. Joker's going to find you if you're cutting. So cut to the basket. That's going to lead to easier baskets for MPJ. But this is going to be a great test. An opportunity for Michael Porter Jr. with Will Barton still being out. Obviously, we loved what we saw yesterday. If he can be that guy for the remainder of the bubble, the Nuggets legitimately have a chance to win a title.
No, for
without that Michael Porter Jr., they do not. Well, but he's got to do it consistently. That's MPJ's biggest problem right now. Is he's shown these flashes and then he'll go have a dud. He's got to do it consistently.
Kind of the same scenario with Jamal Murray, a guy who can drop 40. The next night drop 12 points. So it is a level of consistency with these guys. We need to find a every night number 2. We need to find a pimp into our Jordan. And Jokic is right now our Jordan. He could be on track to being the franchise's best player of all time. There's not a lot of guys in there. You have your Dan Issel, but Alex English, but none of those guys have won a championship. Right now, Nikola Jokic is in a position to where he can bring, the Denver Nuggets their first championship, and if he does, without a doubt, he's the best player in this franchise.
Oh, seriously, and I know you guys brought up the talks about MPJ and Jamal Murray, and I'd love the situation where the MPJ gets starting minutes or at least gets somewhat in the second rotation, because we already we don't really look at Joker as a game-winning shot towards the end. We usually give it to Jamal. So the MPJ, that could give us another.
Joker has like 4 game winners this year.
I'm like 4, but
41st triple-double last night.
But I'm just saying, if we get MPJ in there, we can use him as another guy to use as a game-winning shot taker.
All right, so I have a question for both of y'all. Is Jamal replaceable if the emergence of MPJ is real?
Why do you have to replace Jamal with the emergence of MPJ? They play 2 different positions.
Well, we could move him down to a number 3. I would love to see.
Why though?
Why? As I say,
why would you
when
do
I
that?
say replaceable, I say replaceable of a role. You see,
replaceable as like the second best player on the team. Absolutely. And honestly, if the Nuggets are serious about winning a title, that needs to happen. Michael Porter Jr. needs to be the second best player on the Nuggets behind Joker. But that doesn't mean Jamal Murray's gonna just get kicked down the road. He still can be an all-star caliber guard for the Nuggets. That's what they need. They need Jamal. They need Jamal to be our third option. To be a consistent player.
When I say replaceable, I didn't want y'all thinking going on lines like off the team. No, just as his role on the squad of being that scoring option. Now, I think Jamal he's worked on it. His facilitating. I think Jamal being another facilitator on the team. Obviously with Joker being that primary facilitator, Jamal be founded on some open threes and whatnot. I just think if MPJ does emerge, Jamal could find himself as that odd man out between that duo of Joker and Porter Jr.
Yeah, but honestly though, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing for this organization, and I'm sure Jamal realizes that. Look, if MPJ emerges as the Nuggets' second best player, that is a fantastic thing for the Nuggets. If Jamal Murray's your third option, great, I'm in. Give me some more of that.
Well, he did just sign a 5-year deal, so it's not like we're going to see a little bit of Jamal Murray. He's still going to be stuck around here.
And he's 22. Like, remember that. He would be a senior in college this year.
And people forget, John Calipari said Jamal Murray was the best scorer he's ever seen, and that's over guys Devin Booker, DeMarcus Cousins, Karl Anthony Towns. Come on now.
Anthony Davis.
And so he has potential there still that people forget. I think he just gets forgotten because it's the market that he plays in. People don't give us Denver people respect. Drops a tear to my eye. But, man, it's all right. It's all right because I think when we get that chip this year, and we're going to get it, people are going to start recognizing. This is Sports with Staxx and Shaggy.
It's back. The $12.99 buy one get one only at Olive Garden. Try our creamy fettuccine Alfredo, hearty spaghetti with meat sauce, or our melty 5-cheese baked ziti. While you're at it, make sure you take a second entree home. With so many choices, how can you go wrong? And don't forget about our endless salads and warm breadsticks. Order online or find one of our convenient locations near you. Olive Garden. When you're here, your family. Your summer just got hotter with the $4.99 unlimited buffet at Pizza Hut. That's right, all of your Pizza Hut favorites for only $4.99. Monday through Friday for lunch, and Tuesday night, dive into limitless pizzas, pastas, salads, breadsticks, and desserts. All hot, fresh, and ready for you when you are. So much good food for so little money makes satisfying that Pizza Hut craving so easy. The $4.99 Pizza Hut never-ending buffet, all at a great price and ready for you today. Make it great at Pizza Hut.
Come on in to the Catcharas River Bed and Breakfast for an inviting and relaxing retreat in the southwestern Colorado mountains. Whether you're kicking up your feet in the comfy day room or sipping on cocktails down by the river, you're sure to have a great time. Enjoy fishing, hiking, and hunting, all with the comforts of walk-in showers, private balconies overlooking the beautiful Catcharas River and Valley, and breakfast cooked fresh daily by the loving hands of the owner, Galen Smith. If you get hungry in the afternoon or evening, grab a cold one, good company, and grill out on the deck. You can come stay at the famous Dog Bar Grill, just a stone's throw from the B&B. Book your room now at CatcharasRiverBnB.com. That's CUCHARAS RiverBnB.com. Catcharas River Bed and Breakfast. Tell them Arthur sent you.
At Chewy's, weekdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Fully loaded nacho car.
Nacho car?
Yeah, that's right. And it's free. You'll get chips, salsa, queso, taco, meat, and more. And don't forget to pair it with one of the signature margaritas. Only at Chewy's. Tex-Mex done right. Must be 21. Find a location near you at chewy's.com. Hurry in. 7 p.m. The trunk closes.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
$30 seconds. I'm on right now. I don't believe you.
And we got a update for y'all with the Rockies game. Rockies up 5-2. A little bit of a scare there. They were down or up only by one. Actually looked like it was about to be a tied game until a homer was called back by the umps. Rockies, though, up 5-2 with one on base. Nolan up the bat, bottom of the seventh. Getting back to the last segment of this Tuesday night. And it's something we're going to start here, Trash Talk Tuesdays. And I don't know if y'all have something on your mind, something y'all want to rant, but this is the time for y'all to rant about it. You know what I mean? No Miko ranting in, but we ranting over here. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just made that up on the spot. I don't know if that's good or not.
He just made it Johnny up on the spot.
Johnny on the spot. But first, I think this is the only one we got for this segment, but leading into my trash before I trash this person out, I got something that, we had from yesterday's show.
I'm gonna go with the Nuggets. I'm a homer. I'm a homer, bro. You're gonna say what you want. I'm gonna be biased. everyone's talking the Battle of LA, but everyone keeps forgetting about a Slim. Y'all,
You have your Western Conference prediction. Who's your Eastern Conference prediction?
Raptors. Still Raptors. I still feel like they got the keys to lock down Giannis.
We're both on Raptors and both on the Raptors.
Now, not necessarily trashing Giannis, but I'm going to trash the Bucks because they ain't getting nowhere against the Raptors right now. I still think the Raptors are the king of that Eastern Conference. They have the answers to lock down Giannis Antetokounmpo. They play good team defense. They got great individual defenders in Ibaka and Siakam, who you could call as baby Giannis. Who does Giannis got as a number 2? Are you gonna give me Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe,
Lopez maybe?
Maybe Lopez. Come on, man. He does. Giannis is gonna just feel that effect, and if they do get to the finals, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's very unlikely. They have the best record in the NBA, but the reason why they're getting trashed is because for a team that has the best record in the NBA, and for you not to make it to the finals and even win the finals is just laughable, and it's gonna make what I'd say your star want to shy away. Because what the stars want to do, they want to win. But if they're with a team who has has the highest regular season wins and doesn't, capitalize in the playoffs, then what's the point of being there?
Dude, before when the regular season ended, they were on pace to almost go and break that Warriors team record before obviously they started, falling off towards the end. But they were on pace to break that Warriors team record of 72-9. That's or 71-9.
73.
73 in my bad. Yeah.
So the Bulls had the record at 72-10.
Hey.
The Warriors.
Y'all ever heard this one? 73-9 is good, but 72-10 got a ring to it.
Better ring to it.
All day. No, that's on when y'all could trash. No, but that's who I'm trashing. The Bucks. You guys got to find you a solidified number 2. You got to invest in a number 2. Yeah, I know you think Chris Middleton's that's your man, but he's not. He disappears in postseason play. You saw what he did last year in the series against the Celtics. Disappeared. They almost lost that series. You saw he couldn't do nothing really in the Raptors series. If Chris Middleton showed up just a little bit in that Raptors series, they were exited by a last-second Kawhi shot. Come on now. They could have been in the finals last year.
Oh, they could have. They easily could have. They were up 2-0 against the Raptors before they lost 4 straight games in the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Who you trashing today, Jake?
I'm trashing actually the best win of the day in the Phoenix Suns. I'm trashing the team that they beat. And how are you going to let a team that has really one perennial star on it go and beat you on the last second shot when you have 4 great defenders on that one individual team?
Mm-hmm.
You have
I was disappointed with the Clippers when they lost to the Lakers, and that was like humble disappointment. Right now, this is like embarrassing disappointment. Like I'm not too embarrassed, for them. I'm happy. I didn't really see the silver lining here. I didn't realize what I should have realized, that the Clippers losing moves the Nuggets into
a better
game behind them.
2.
What Dan pointed out to us. Thank you, Dan. This is the reason why I'm not on there.
This is the reason we have the expert right here.
No. We're on there. We just playing. No, man. Why are you trashing them though? I think you gotta uplift the Suns a little bit.
No, I'm trashing the Clippers.
Well, I'm saying though, like, why do you gotta trash the Clippers? So it was a good win by the Suns. Why it wasn't like a terrible?
You could say
loss
it's a good win by the Suns, but you could also say it was a horrible loss by the Clippers. I mean, you give up a last-second shot to win the game against a team that's probably no chance of making the 8th seed. It's going to be Memphis, and you lose that game to a Devin Booker shot.
I mean, Phoenix hasn't lost in the bubble yet.
No, they're balling.
I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're playing well.
You know what's weird? They're starting off like they started off the season. They started off the season really hot. They're almost starting off the same way.
Yo, this is Trash Talk Tuesday. If you want to give us your trash talk, you call us at 303-937-6548. Dan, let me get you.
I want to trash. It's not an individual.
Let me hear.
I'm going to trash the NFL.
Okay.
The NBA and NHL decided to do bubbles to resume their seasons. The bubbles are working, right? We've had, over the last month, no positive tests for COVID in Orlando, no positive tests in Toronto, no positive tests in Edmonton. I just saw the NHL report come out today. None.
I love it!
Major League Baseball decided not to do a bubble. They've had an outbreak with the Marlins. We're seeing an outbreak now with the Cardinals because players aren't following protocols. What a shocker. The NFL's had 5 months to get this right for the restart. They've seen what's happened with the bubbles in the NBA and the NHL. They're working. They've seen what happens without a bubble in Major League Baseball. It's not working. Why in the world is the NFL not doing a bubble? I don't want to hear, oh, well, logistically with 90 players and coaches, staff, it wouldn't be possible. BS. Go to LA. They've got 8 stadiums that are suitable to play in. You could do a bubble in Los Angeles. The fact that the NFL has seen the evidence. Now with baseball, I give them a pass because they didn't see that the bubbles were working. Granted, they should have done one anyways. They do it every year for spring training. I don't know why they were so against it this year. The NFL's seen the results. They've seen the bubble working in hockey, in basketball. They are seeing it currently failing in Major League Baseball. The fact that the NFL won't change their plan and their season is absolutely ridiculous.
But you also got to look at it. These leagues, the NHL and the NBA, they only have like 500 to 600, 700 players in their league. The NFL has like 2,700 players in their league.
What?
That's like triple, almost
keep players
quadruple.
safe, man. If you want to bring in the best,
look,
entertainment out there.
Look, let me just say this, and then I'll be done with my rant. Yes, I get that the NFL has a ton more personnel, but what would you rather do? Do a bubble for 3 or 4 months in the NFL and have a logistical nightmare, or do you want to play 2 games into the regular season, have an outbreak, and the season shuts down? What do you want more, NFL?
I feel like even then, if the NFL has positive, COVID tests, I feel like they're going to do the same thing that CSU was doing. I mean, the NFL has already done some very fishy things. I remember when the concussion movie came out, they were trying to like push it under the rug. Like, yeah, our players don't get concussions. Like, long-term injuries to the head doesn't do a long-term effect. That's nothing bad at all. CTE is not a thing. Like, I could easily see them pushing this under the rug, being like, oh, yeah, you got COVID test. Well, here's $1 million. You never, that test doesn't exist.
Well, in the last coming days, you see players opting out. The opt-out deadline on Thursday. You got one team in the New England Patriots that have
9 players.
Least, I was going to say 10. 9 players opting out. So, tomorrow and Thursday, you keep a watch for, more guys opting out because that deadline's coming and they're coming, they're going to be making their decision.
And if the NFL did a bubble, that you'd still see guys opting out, but you wouldn't see the amount of opt-outs that we've seen already.
Yeah, and it worries you because, tomorrow could we see a Aaron Rodgers caliber player and opt out? I'm just throwing a name out there. Just, someone who's great value, the reason why you bring an audience.
Von Miller talked about he was thinking about opting out.
And so if someone like that, what is that going to do to your audience? Are you going to see the decrease in audience, like how you saw in 2017 when players like Aaron Rodgers were getting hurt and people stopped watching and the viewership went down, and you saw the next year they came back and implemented those quarterback rules? Could you see that kind of thing with the players opting out with the viewership, or are players going to or is the NFL going to smarten up and before the season happens,
the NFL
maybe get a bubble going?
I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert on this, but in my opinion, there's no chance that the NFL finishes their season this year. No chance at all.
And they could probably be the same set for MLB. Are you on the same stance with that, Dan?
It's teetering. They're right there. If they don't get it under control fast, the Major League Baseball is going to have to cancel the season.
Yeah, and it's getting scary for sure. But the Rockies right now, they're winning, so good hopes for that. Of course, the MLB season would be canceled when the Rockies are about to make a World Series push, huh?
I was just about to say that. They actually have a halfway decent team, at least by the standing right now, and, canceled.
And before we get out here, just one last update. Rockies up 5-2, 2 on base. Top of the 8th, man. They're getting the pitching change out there for the Giants. Hey, we're glad that y'all were able to join us tonight. Thank you, Dan, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My man Shaggy behind the glass on the 1s and 2s. And Staxx will be back at you tomorrow at 8.